Hello, my name is Brittany Quickel from Chiaroscuro Tarot, and I just wanted to hop on here real quick to talk about the magic of journaling, okay? So I started journaling during the pandemic in early 2020 when I lost my job, and I had always wanted to be the type of person who journals every day, every morning. I had tried it out several times in my life, and I would start for a few days and then I would stop, and I had all these journals that I bought that I would never actually write in, you know what I mean? I always wanted to be that person who was journaling every day, right? So ever since I started journaling in early 2020, now I am that person, okay? And I wanted to talk about this today because I actually finished this journal. This is a whole book that I have written basically, right? So I just wanted to share this because today I finally wrote on the last page. And I was like, you know what? Let's talk about journaling, because even though I started this several years ago, it is just so satisfying to finish a book, right? Especially being one of those people who was bought all these journals and then would write random stuff in it, but never actually write every day, right? Now I've finished several books over the course of the last over 3 years now, right? About 3 years. And it's just always so satisfying when you just finish that last page, and then you kind of look back and you're just oh my God, I wrote all of this. This is a whole book of my life, right? So I hope that I inspire you today to go out and either buy yourself a journal or take one of those mini journals that you've already bought and you have not yet written in. And I want you to start writing your story, and I want you to start journaling today, okay? Especially if you're one of those people like me who always wanted to do this, but you're this particular journal I bought, I started this one on 4/20, 2023. And this actually was on, I bought this because I was going to an event, of a gathering of it was an academic event for about Italian folk magic and witchcraft. And something just told me, while I was at CVS, something was why don't you buy a fresh new journal? I think I was already writing in this little skinny journal that I had. And while I was at CVS, I was looking at the journal section, and something just told me to buy a new journal. And I started this journal while I was at the event, and I was taking notes for the event. Okay? Now listen to this. I'm in Italy right now. I'm in Calabria. I'm living in a beautiful home on my own. I'm in a very interesting chapter in my life, where I had been living in New York City for the past 6 years, which was where I was on April 20th. And I'm in Calabria, Italy right now, right? And I'm in an interesting chapter where I'm living by myself for a little over 2 months. I've been here for about a month, but this has been a chapter of needed solitude to just kind of get myself together and to have a new beginning, right? So the woman who owns this home, the Italian-American woman who owns this home, is a woman that I met on 4/20 at this witch event. She was sitting right next to me, okay? So when I opened up this journal and I started writing in it for the first time to take notes for this event, I had no idea the new story, the new chapter that was opening up for me in real life, because this is my journal, this is my life story since April 20th, right? I had no idea what was going to happen, right? So I'm sitting next to this woman. We end up talking after the event, and she's like, oh, I have a home in Italy, and all of this stuff. And now I'm living in her home in Italy, right? And now I finished this journal after all this. This is one of the craziest, out of all the journals and like chapters of my life that have transpired, that I have written about and journaled about, this is probably the craziest, juiciest book out of all of them. Like, no exaggeration, because that day literally changed my life. I met people there who changed my life. And I have many stories within this book, this journal. So I found like today it was very fitting for me to talk about journaling and hopefully inspire you to start journaling as well. Because it's very powerful. I started journaling, like I said, in early 2020. And I heard about this concept. If you've ever read the book or heard of the book The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron, she talks about the importance of journaling every single day, especially for artists and creative people, right? Which I believe we are all creative as human beings. It's just part of our nature to create, whether you consider yourself an artist or not, or you want to be an artist and you want to journal, then this is for you, right? So she talks about the power of journaling every morning when you first wake up. And she encourages people to start journaling at least 3 pages every single day. And she calls that morning pages. And in this book, she talks about how it's kind of just you open up the book and you just start brain dump journaling your thoughts and just don't think about it too hard. Just write okay, I'm sitting here now and I'm drinking my coffee and it's, whatever time in the morning, and later today I'm going to go to the grocery store and I'm going to buy food and I'm going to do all these things, and I've been thinking about this lately and blah 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 blah, right? If you're not sure what to write at first, just start there, right? And I think that's a great way to start, because that's actually how I started, right? At first I was I don't know, what am I gonna write? And then I just started with that, and I kind of forced myself to write at least 3 pages every single day until I made it a habit of journaling every day, right? So now I don't write necessarily 3 pages every day. Sometimes I'll write more than 3 pages. Sometimes I'll write 1 page or even half a page. Funny story, towards the end of this, I start writing really, really small, because I didn't bring another journal. I didn't bring an empty journal with me to Italy, because I literally took all of my belongings in New York City and I whittled them down to 1 suitcase that I brought here. And I brought this journal and I brought the previous journal that was already finished, because I keep all of them, right? And I was running out of space, and I was okay, I'm gonna have to go buy a new journal, right? So where I am in Italy, I'm in a very rural area that there's a little there's some little small towns nearby, but I'm kind of on the side of a mountain, and I don't have a car. I'm really in a hermit mode chapter of my life, and I knew that I was gonna be in this type of situation, right? So now when my neighbor can't take me to the grocery store or something, I will walk down the mountain to the local grocery store. So there's this little tiny store that I've been going to, and I've looked for a journal there, since I started shopping there the last few weeks. And they don't have the journals there. I have to go to some other type of store to buy them, because it's just a little tiny store, right? So I'm running out of paper, this past week, and I'm like, okay, we got to find a journal. So yesterday I walked to the grocery store, and the whole time I was walking there, I was like, I'm also on a time, there's a few different things going on, right? I'm also on a time limit because stores in Italy, and this part of Italy especially, they will close in the early afternoon around like 1 p.m. and then they won't open again until about 5 p.m. and then they'll be open into the evening, right? But it takes me a little while to like walk down the mountain, go grocery shopping, and then walk back. So if I'm doing that in the evening when the sun is not so hot and everything. So I have a limited time to get down to the mountain, do my grocery shopping, and come back up before it gets dark, right? So I was walking down the mountain and I was like, I really need to find some paper. I really want to find some paper. I know my neighbor can probably take me to the store in a few days, but it would be so great if I could just get like even printer paper or a notepad or something like that, right? And I was like walking up to the grocery store, and I was even thinking about like typing into Google Translate, because I'm not fluent in Italian yet, like, hey, do you know anywhere where I can buy like a notebook or something? And I'm like, no, like, I'll be fine, right? And I walk into this grocery store that I've been in like several times already. And like I said, I thought I looked everywhere for paper, notepads. I walk into the store and I usually go like this way and get the produce or whatever. I end up going straight and then looking, and there's this little tiny shelf that has art supplies that I've never seen before. And I've been in the store like several times. And at the bottom of the art supplies, they have this paper, this like drawing paper. And I was like, oh my God, like I walked all the way over here and I was like manifesting, I was like, it would be so great if I could find some paper at this store, and then it was right there, like in a spot that I didn't even like see before. And they had like all these different like colored pens and markers and like different art supplies. And I was like, oh my God, I've never, like, what? So I bought a few of these. I think I'm gonna like be real old school and like try to like bind it into like a little journal for myself. I don't know. I'm in such like an old school like time in my life where I'm just like, wow, oh my God, this paper came out of nowhere. Anyway, I also think it's so beautiful that in Italy at this like little tiny grocery store where they only have like the basics of like what people need, that they found that it was important to have art supplies. Like they don't have a journal like this here. Okay, whatever. But they have this like drawing paper so that people can make art. Like oh my God, I love Italy. So yeah, go get yourself a journal or use one of the many journals that you've already bought and that are empty. If you're one of those people, you already know what I'm talking about, right? Go get yourself a journal and start writing every day. Okay, I do this in the morning. Like I said, because I found that out from Julia Cameron's book, The Artist's Way, which I recommend for all artists and creatives. And I think also there's a lot of benefit to journaling at night as well. And also I journal when something is really heavy on my mind and I need to kind of just write it out for myself. Like last week I was like really, kind of had a lot of feelings about something and I was like, oh my God. And I was like, you know what, let's go sit outside and let's just journal about it. And after a few pages, I was like, okay, now I feel a million times better, right? So there's something really powerful and magical about like getting your thoughts out on paper. And I'm also a huge advocate of journaling by like taking a book, like a physical book and physical paper and a pen that you really like the texture of, okay? This is for my like highly sensitive people who are just sensitive about everything. I always use these like Pilot G2 pens because they're kind of like a gel pen. And I like the color black, like I'm very specific, right? So I brought a bunch of those to Italy. And there's something really powerful about handwriting if you are able to do that, okay? The other times that I tried to journal, I was trying to type it out, and sometimes that's helpful for me as well if I'm like creatively writing or something. But the journaling, hand journaling and filling up a physical book and having this physical, like being able to look at like, wow, I wrote a book that's like 235 pages of my life story as of April 20th, 2023 until today, October 11th, 2023. Like there's just something really, really rewarding about like being able to see that. And there's just something really powerful about physically writing things down. There's probably some neuroscience that's been done on this and why that is the case. But human beings have been writing for not really that long. We haven't really been like literate for that long. In certain cultures, they've been doing this way longer than in the Western world, honestly. But, you know, we haven't always had the technology to type things out. That's new, you know, in the last few like decades, right? So it's still a little bit like unnatural for us. So yeah, I'm a huge advocate of like writing in a paper journal with a pen or a pencil, whatever you prefer. Because again, it's very powerful. There's a serious magic to it. Like I said, I recommend that you do this like in the morning. I also meditate first thing in the morning. I will wake up and I will meditate first thing in the morning. I can talk about my morning routine and things that have really helped create structure in my life and that have literally transformed my life in another video. But this video, I just wanted to focus on the journaling part. Another alternative as well, again, I recommend that you have this like the physical journal with the pen. But writing in your notes section on like your phone, like that can also be very powerful as well. I would do that like when I used to go to work and I would have some downtime at work and I needed to like journal on something. I would like write in my notes section. And that can be helpful too. But again, like there's something to the physicality of writing things down on paper and then seeing physically like how many pages that is, that just really hits different. So I highly recommend journaling overall. Especially if you've like always wanted to journal, you've always wanted to be that type of person that like journals every day. The other thing I will say about journaling is you don't have to like read what you wrote. You can just write and then start a new page the next day. You don't need to like go back and like read it. I really only go back and read my journals when I'm looking for a specific time in my life, like what was I thinking around that time. So the other thing that I do with journaling is I will number the pages like in the corner, like this says like 20, and I will also put the date and I will put the time. Okay, well, I'll put the day and like the time that I start journaling as well. That's just me. I think you definitely should date your journals just so you can kind of look back and be like, oh yeah, like that day I was going through that thing. Because sometimes we go through certain things and we are like, what the fuck is going on, right? And that's why journaling is also really powerful as well, because it can help you like get your thoughts out in the moment. But now I can look back on the beginning of this story, and I can be like, wow, like on this date, like this is what led up to me being here today. You know what I mean? So I think that's really powerful too. I also really recommend numbering the pages because, again, it's just really satisfying to look back and be like, wow, I wrote like a whole book of like 235 pages. That's just like my life story. I'll tell you something else that I'll leave you with. Another motivation for me to start journaling is I started journaling during the pandemic in around April of 2020 because I was living in New York City at the time. I ended up being completely quarantined by myself. My 2 roommates in Harlem, like they left and went somewhere else. And after I was like really like hustling and in denial in the beginning of it, right? I just kind of kept myself really busy and I tried to make a schedule for myself because I was used to doing like 9 to 5 and commuting and everything. And then all of a sudden that all went away, right? So about a month into the pandemic and into me being in quarantine, I had this one night where I kind of let myself have like a breakdown and cry like really hard because I was like, wow, like this is really serious. A lot of people are dying. I mean, I was not very far from where they were burying people in Central Park. Okay, like it was like hardcore, right? It, like real life hit me. I knew it was real life since the beginning, but this moment, this one night, like in April, it just hit me like, oh my God, like this. I don't know if I'm going to make it out of this. Like, I might not survive this, right? And I was crying and I was like, oh my gosh, like, what's going to happen? And I thought about Anne Frank and the Diary of Anne Frank and how, she was a Jewish girl who hid with her family for part of, as like the Nazis were looking for Jewish people to capture them and take them to concentration camps, which is eventually what ended up happening to her and her family. But leading up to that, while she was in hiding, she wrote in a journal and she had a diary. And then, she ended up dying in a concentration camp, right? But after she died, someone found this diary of hers and they published it. And that's, the book, The Diary of Anne Frank. It is literally her diary, right? And that hit me. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to start journaling. I'm going to start a diary because if I don't make it out of here, which I also in that same night kind of committed to myself, I was like, no, we're going to survive. But if I don't, I'm going to write out my life story every single day so that, if something happens to me or if I don't make it out alive, which, we're all going to be gone from this earth at some point, this will remain. And at least somebody can find this and know what my story was. And I'm leaving something behind. I'm leaving many books behind now at this point, but at the time I was like, I will, at least I'll leave something behind and, some of my stories will be told because I am a storyteller and I am a writer, and it was kind of killing me that I wasn't journaling every day. So ever since I have been doing that, it's just helped my life tremendously. And it's also given me a lot of peace and solitude in, the grander scheme of things, right? In this memento mori perspective, right? Which means remember that you must die. Because we're leaving something behind when you journal and when you tell your story. And you can also just journal just for you, right? Don't journal because you want to publish it one day and other people will read it or whatever. This is just for you and you to write down. And And you can keep it in a private place as well, just so to make sure that this is private just for you. I would not allow anybody to read your journal or your diary, again, because this is meant to be private just for you. So if you have to hide it somewhere or whatever, do what you gotta do. But journaling is really powerful and it's really magical. So I hope this inspires you to bust out one of those empty journals that you have lying around and to start writing every day and to start telling your story. And if you are watching this, I'm just going to throw this out there. I really encourage you to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel and share this with someone who's been talking about how they want to journal and they want to write, but maybe they haven't yet. And I also encourage you to join my email list at chiaroscurotarot.com. The link is below. And I'm just going to throw this out into the universe. I am going to also be creating journals that you can buy and you can purchase as well if you choose to. But I recommend that you get something that really speaks to you. But it's always been a dream of mine to create journals for people to buy. So the link may be below for that as well. If it's not yet, those should be out by the end of the year, by the end of 2023. But if the link is not below yet, then they haven't been created yet. They're not available yet. So just join my email list and you will know when they are available. Okay. So start writing your story because your story is really powerful and journaling has many magical benefits. And I will see you on the next one.